Welcome to the Tuesday Weekend, your guide to the industry of yes. I had a boss who used to say, we are in the industry of yes. We do not say no. And hey, funny thing, I don't believe that anymore. But we still mostly have to say yes. And with me is pastry chef turned savory chef turned back into pastry chef, Trae Durka. Hello. I was going to make the first episode about the pandemic and its effect on us and just the effect on the industry broadly and us personally. But then a work event kind of popped up and that brought another subject I had in mind that we're going to hit a few weeks from now. Basically, congratulations. They finally hired you some help. Now you have to train them. My condolences. This episode is about training the FNG. And if you aren't familiar with that acronym, stay tuned. We will get to it. Later on, we're going to have some advice for being either the new hire in a bar or restaurant or the guy that has to train them or girl.
The human that has to train them.
Then, of course, we have some stories and opinions, and hopefully none of those stories are about you. But sometimes bringing in that new person is a breath of fresh air to the team, the department, maybe the whole building. And sometimes the betting pool on how long this person is going to last gets very competitive rather quickly. To start, a joke that I came up with a couple of years ago and I'm very proud of. Trae, how many line cooks does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I don't know, Josh. How many?
3. 1 to screw in a light bulb, and 2 to tell you how they screwed in bulbs better at the place they used to work. So, Trae, as a ice cream monger, ice creamier, I'm not sure what you call yourselves.
Scoopers.
I know scoopers.
All
I
scoopers.
can work with that.
Yeah.
I know in your part of the industry, you have a lot of high school and college students, which
correct.
necessarily means yearly seasonal turnover that you can't really retain even the good ones for more than 3 or 4 years maximum. So what are some of the skills you've learned in trying to, well, train all just the volume of young, unexperienced people, one assumes, and, you know, and just kind of keeping up with the training, recruiting some. I'm sure you have some stories and ideas with that. So
Absolutely. Well, it's really important that while I consider myself fortunate that I get to work with a lot of high school and college students. Many of them, this is among their first job, if not among the first jobs that they have in their career. I've gotten the chance to work with some people who learned really quickly that food service is not where they want to go, and then they got to graduate from high school. And ice cream itself is a very seasonal business. We are very much looking at needing a significant number of employees during 4-6 months tops during the year, and the rest of the year I need maybe a quarter of that number. So it's an interesting little puzzle to be figuring out. I've worked in ice cream shops in college towns. I've worked in ice cream shops in Brooklyn, New York, in New York City, and the pattern itself is always the same. You've got the high season and the low season, and they are very distinctly different. And I think the thing that's really important is it really starts with having a solid training program where you're intentionally training people to the job with a set of expectations that your trainer, your manager, and your trainee can walk into. And then it really starts at the recruiting stage, knowing how to interview. And interviewing with such a significantly static pattern, interviewing knowing what you're looking for. I start interviewing for the summer in March. My season doesn't really start until May. But I'm getting those people in the door and getting them trained up before I need them, even though it sometimes is at a cost to other people, whereas they see it. I'm using some of those labor dollars to labor a little bit heavy, so by the time I've got the line out the door with people sweating and wanting ice cream, my team knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
The challenge of having high school and college students, you do have people who don't necessarily know what they want to do for their career. This isn't a career for them. This is how they're getting their fun money to go out with their friends. And so many of these students, it's not just, we have a 5-day training program for my ice cream shop. It's not just the 5 days of training. You are training them from the moment they walk into the door to the moment they are putting in their notice. It's not the formal training, but it's, no, you can't call me on my day off to tell me that you're calling out sick. You need to look at the schedule and see who actually your shift lead is. You can't tell me that you're going on vacation tomorrow. You're going to get written up for that. You need to put in your time off in advance. I'm very lucky to be in a place where we can say yes to just about everything, but it also means that you might want 4 shifts, you're going to get 3, maybe 2, because of when you tell me you're available. If you tell me you can't work weekends, but you want 4 days, guess what? You're not getting 4 days. I don't want to work weekends either, friend.
Right now, for me in banquets, it's inconsistent. And so I've, in the last month or so, had quite a number of both people in the building and even a guy who used to work with us about a year ago and left, came back and was like, hey, do you have any shifts? And like, you hit my department at the slowest possible time. And so, sure, absolutely, I can get you onto the roster, but I also have only 3 real things over the next month I might need you for. Otherwise, those couple things that come up, I have to give them to my captains first. You know, right. I need to keep the people I have year round satisfied, happy. You know, that's part of my job too. But so you mentioned in interviews knowing what you're looking for. What do you look for?
It varies. So I'm working with, as I said, I'm working in a college town here in Boulder, Colorado. So I am sometimes having high school sophomores apply because we start hiring at 16. And sometimes I've got grad students applying. And I pretty much every week when I'm writing my schedule, I'm in my roster and I'm looking at, all right, who do I have? What skills do they have? And at this point of the year, we're on July 17th right now. I'm also looking at who's leaving. Because right now I've got somebody that was hired in as a sophomore in high school. She's heading off to college next week. This is her last week. And so I'm like, all right, who do I need to get in to replace this person so that they have the practice when that person's gone, they're ready to step right into that person's shoes. Come earlier in the year when I'm, as I said, I start looking in March. I'm looking for everybody. I'm looking at the people who can start right now or in about 2 weeks when I'm writing that schedule for, and can give me a commitment during that last part of the year for 2 or 3 days, even if they're not getting those shifts, whether they are in their first job and all they've done is mow lawns and babysit before. I'm looking for the people that when I sit them down in an interview and they're really nervous, they can hold a conversation with me and feel like a person. Because we're in customer service. I can teach you how to make a scoop of ice cream. I can teach you how to make a waffle cone and a milkshake. I can't teach you to not be nervous in front of strangers. Because I have been in this industry for 24 years and I am still nervous in front of strangers. And so that is what I'm looking for. And that's not necessarily what every kitchen or every ice cream shop or every restaurant is looking for. But in a position like mine where I've got front and back of house absolutely meshed, can you talk to strangers? Can you make them feel good about their choices? If you can't do that, if you can't hold a conversation with me as that scary interview person, you're not going to be able to hold a conversation with an upset customer either.
Sure.
And that's what I'm starting to screen for right away. I'm also looking at those people on my roster and who's going to fit in with my team. Who am I going to be able to say, hey, you are going to have a great time at work. There was that old Ben & Jerry's bumper sticker that probably is still around. It's like, if it's not fun, why do it? It's very much like Tom Sawyer getting everybody to whitewash the fence for him. How can I make sure that you're having fun while working? Because if for these kids, and I am in a very wealthy area as well, if they're not having fun, they're not going to enjoy work. They're going to quit.
Yeah.
And so I have to figure out what's going to be fun for them while I can still get the job done.
We will absolutely in future episodes talk about management styles because, oh boy, And
Oh, boy.
yeah, we'll get back to that. But let me actually break for just a moment here, because this is an interesting conversation, but I think we're going to cut it here. And thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.